Hello everyone, this is Nidhi from Designhill. Thank you for joining us, and I'm your host for the day. I hope you and your family are keeping well and safe, and I would like to welcome you all for today's session where we are discussing learning tactics for new brand designers. Today's event is brought to you by Designhill, world's leading creative marketplace that caters to the creative needs of businesses and individuals alike, who can source high quality designs from professional designers and buy unique products created by independent artists. So, moving ahead, let me introduce our speaker for today. We have with us Callie Lavit. Callie might be newer to the brand design, graphic design industry, but has managed to excel in the past year by finding online tools and talking to people who have been in the industry for years. One of her biggest passions is helping other brand designers find their authentic voice to create an authentic brand. She has mainly worked in social media marketing but is now focusing on marketing her own brand as well, which is Pink Moon Agency. Her goal is to help brands look as good as they deserve to be and make people's vision come to life. Callie, so happy to have you with us. Would you like to say a quick hi to the audiences? Callie, you're on mute.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I just wanted to say thank you for joining, and I am so excited and looking forward to getting into this.
Awesome. So great, guys. Before we start the session, here are a couple of announcements. You can take the screenshot of this event and post it on your Insta story and tag DesignhillDH and Callie Levitt. That's Callie's handle. One lucky winner will have a chance to win a print shop gift card worth $50. Along with that, as a gesture of appreciation that you could join us for this event, we have some special offers for you guys. Keep an eye on our chat section to get your offer. Moving ahead, let's quickly look at what Designhill is all about. All right, that was all about Designhill, and now we are all set to start the session. Callie is going to be sharing a brief presentation about the concepts of uh, 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 learning tactics for designers, post which we will take up questions. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to post them in the questions tab, guys. Please, not in chat section, but in questions tab, because then in chat section, the questions might get lost. So in the questions tab, and we will take up your questions. Callie, over to you. You can share your screen and start presenting. Okay, you need to unmute yourself. 1 second. Yes.
All right, well, here we go. Here are some learning tactics for new brand designers. I hope you all enjoy. So first things first is finding inspiration and distinguishing yourself as a designer. My first piece of advice would be find your niche. So for me, I went to Paris 2 summers ago, and I took a picture in an alleyway, and I turned that photo into a color palette, and I ended up creating a series off of that. And I started to get noticed on Instagram by other brand designers who were reaching out to me, and that's kind of how I discovered what brand design was. So ask yourself, what do you love? What are you good at? What makes you stand out? And to do that, it does take some self-reflection, which can sometimes be difficult regarding who you are and what you like, as everybody is different. But use these strengths to your advantage because you are new and you have a lot to offer. There are things like what I said, I started with color palettes. There are other things like mood boards as well. If you're not sure what a mood board is, it is a digital collage. They are so fun to make. and extremely helpful when you are building your brand's personality. So the point of a mood board is to create a feeling and a tone through colors and images that are pleasing to you, and it reflects your brand's style and gives your audience and yourself a sneak peek of your brand and what it has to offer visually. So when you make things like this, it will help you discover your favorite color if you don't have one, a color palette for your brand, or even a texture, and play around with these aesthetics that you find pleasing to your senses, which will at some point be your audience's senses as well, or your clients. And this will create inspiration and a foundation for your brand and projects. And another point that I would love to touch on is so many brand designers I know make mood boards for not only their brand and projects and other brands, but for example, on Instagram, there's hashtag Mood Board Monday, which is so inspiring and aesthetically pleasing to see, and so cool to see other designers connect with each other. Plus, they're so fun to make, and they can potentially attract clients as well. Another really important aspect that a lot of people don't talk about as much is to join creative communities, whether it's through Instagram, Facebook groups, or even Pinterest, and reach out to these designers through these platforms. Building an online presence is not only important in general, but especially in today's day and age in technology, as it is progressing more and more every day. And in general, if you want to be successful and to do so, it is very important to use that niche and your personality to meet people and start building connections, whether you are 3 days in your learning journey or you're a professional. Don't be afraid. That is what will make you memorable and in these design communities and in general as a person. And lastly, never say that any creative idea is bad, unless it is for obvious reasons, of course, because sometimes the random creations and designs can end up being loved by people in your design community, your client, or even followers and friends. And that can just end up being an inspirational attention grabber, or even become inspiration for a future job or client. So I would suggest, and I personally do, is always create content, whether it is informational, inspiring, or even just a pretty looking quote. Because even if you don't post it on social media or sell it to a client, it's truly how you will learn, and it will help you build your portfolio as well. Do we have a lot of questions? I feel like we have a lot of questions coming in.
Yes, we have questions, but we'll take up towards a little towards the end of both the halves. So you can continue with the presentation right now.
Okay. So the next point is how to start your journey as a brand designer and achieve your goals. This is kind of a difficult topic to touch on because everyone is different, but just start somewhere, whether it is, hold on 1 minute. There we go. I just wanted to get the right slide up. Apologies. But just start somewhere, whether it's watching a video or simply Googling how to become a brand designer. You are going to feel intimidated for a while because of all of the tools and professional brand designers all over the world. But you have to remember that everyone started somewhere, and once you start, you won't want to stop if it's something that you figure out you are really passionate about. It is also extremely important and helpful to establish short-term goals, such as completing a social media post, along with establishing long-term goals down the road. For example, launching your website. Establishing these goals and completing them not only motivates you, but it helps you stay focused as a designer as well, which is really important. Another point that I would love to touch on is to truly achieve your goals, don't take what other people think into consideration. And that will be very hard to do, especially if it's someone who you envy their opinion or they inspire you in some way. But don't take it into consideration. It is your brand. Stick to your standards and your intuition, unless it's for like obvious reasons, such as a typo or if something is uneven. Do your research. It's a long learning process. From learning what a brand even is to how to create content and connect with clients, it is not an overnight process, and it takes months to even know all of the basics of brand design. So don't ever bring yourself down. Just keep learning and doing your research, as there are many tools online. And if you do your research, you can find almost any explanation, from free courses to templates and so much more. And that is another reason why joining creative communities is so important, because there's a consistent train of free information being posted every day by other designers in the community. And lastly, reach out to more professional people in the industry. You will be surprised at not only the advice and tips you can get, but you should attempt to make connections, as that is also an important aspect to consider in any business. And yes, some people are not kind and just want to get to the top, but you will experience that in any industry. I have reached out to so many other brand designers who have given me amazing tips and advice throughout my learning journey, and still do to this day. I have recently had a follower steal an idea of mine, and I was so upset at first, and I felt so belittled as she had way more followers and experience than me. But then I reflected on it, and I realized that if a professional stole an idea of mine, it must have been good. So I took it.
Wow, that's right.
Yeah, so I took it
That's
as
an amazing way to look at it. That's a really positive way to look at it. And thank you so much for that insight. Callie, I have a small request. A lot of people are not able to see the presentation. Can you put the presentation on this slideshow mode?
Yes, I'm not sure how to do so.
Okay, we also get to see on the left hand side. Can you please put it on the slideshow mode? I mean, yes, that works. Right. That's. Thank you. Okay.
Is that better?
So you could put it on the slideshow mode. I could see that, but it is again in the same way.
It won't let me put it in full mode. Let me try.
There must be a slideshow option, right? Is it?
Yes. All right.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
So I forgot, where do we leave off? I'm sorry. So let's move on to how to create content and establish your personal brand. First, to establish a personal brand, you must have a set of values, goals, a mission. It takes so much more than just a logo or a good brand name. So start with establishing any certifications you have and use your personality and your niche to your advantage. Hold on, I'm sorry, I apologize.
That's okay.
Okay. Oh, I'm on the wrong page.
It's all right. It's all right. Please take your time. And if it is difficult for you to keep the presentation on slideshow, you can continue the same way for the time being so that you don't lose a track of the pages.
Okay. I'm just going to continue.
Yeah.
Okay. So some of the right learning tools and materials to educate yourself. That was definitely a difficult process at first. But YouTube is one of the most amazing free learning tools ever invented. It can help you learn almost anything, no matter what industry you work in. And it has very informative videos for new designers made by some amazing creators. If you haven't heard of Satori Graphics, they make some amazing content. They are an awesome channel to subscribe to, as they are great at explaining topics from basic design to even common mistakes that designers make, which is super important to learn as a beginner in the industry. Google Design as well has some awesome videos regarding the basic design process. And TED Talks, which is a personal favorite of mine. They also have a multitude of informative videos on YouTube covering almost every brand topic, from strategies to the future of the branding industry, which are all extremely informative and inspiring. I watch YouTube almost every day as I am still in the learning process, and I'm always trying to learn something new or challenging. There is a quote that if you are the smartest person in the room, then you are in the wrong room. Throughout the pandemic, I have also learned to love podcasts, and I am always looking for a new listen. Amy Porterfield is absolutely amazing, and I listen to her all the time, and I've actually connected with her through Instagram. So like I said before, don't be afraid to reach out to professionals, because they might reach back out to you. I highly recommend her podcast, Any Female Entrepreneur. She is so inspiring and a true boss. Brandmaster is a great and a personal favorite of mine. It's a newer series, but it is super informative. The Gold Digger podcast is another great one, which is hosted by Jenna Kutcher, who touches on all the basics from influence to strategies. And then Tash Talks, lastly, is awesome if you are interested in marketing aspects as well, which is hosted by one of my super talented creative friends, Natasha Zork. If you're watching, hi. And if you guys have any suggestions, drop them in the comment box or send me a DM on Pink Moon Agency's Instagram or Twitter. I am always looking for a new listen. Books, ebooks, whatever you prefer. I personally love books. And a lot of books that I refer back to, Catherine Brooking, she is an amazing author of Creating a Brand Identity. And this is an amazing first read for beginners, as it explains all the important concepts and aspects that create a brand, from explaining logos and typography to the importance of discovering a foundation for a brand, such as your goals, and even some tips regarding your brand vision. And it's designed so beautifully. There are some cute little tips in the corners that have amazing information, and it seriously is one of the best books for any new designer. Another great read is Branding in 5.5 Steps by Michael Johnson. That book is a little bit more complex and long, as it goes more in depth and covers marketing aspects as well, but that is a great read. And the first few chapters do cover the basics, so I would recommend that for some new designers. And Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller is, I would say that is a more complex read as well. But it is really informative when it comes to focusing on the topics of brand storytelling and how to attract your audience and clients, which is super important to recognize and establish once you have established your brand. And even Google searches too. I have found so many blogs, downloadable PDF learning tools and manuals. And one last essential tool for beginners, which isn't necessarily talked about in the industry as much as it should be, is subscribing to brand designers' blogs and campaigns, as they contain great information and facts regarding the industry. So moving forward on how to create content and establish your personal brand. Establishing your personal brand is so much more than having a pretty logo or offering a service. To establish your personal brand, you must have a set of values, goals, a mission, a target audience, and so much more, which creates a foundation for your brand in the sense that you truly understand what the meaning is behind that logo. So start with establishing your certifications, if any, degrees, skill sets, even passions. Personality is what sets you apart as a brand and should be a reflection of who you are and who you want to be. From minimalist to maximalist designers, you will discover the right look and feel for you, and what connects with your brand. And that will lead to creating a successful personal brand. For beginners, Adobe Spark and Canva are awesome and easy tools for beginners to not only navigate, but to make professional looking designs, social media posts, and even templates, and it's free. So I would totally recommend downloading those for beginners. They are great tools. During my marketing internship, I used Adobe Spark to make all of our social media posts, and it was such a helpful tool as a beginner when it came to understanding aspects such as fonts, colors, and spacing. So I guess we're moving into the last aspect of the questions, which is where and how to find your first clients. This one is tough. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Are you picking questions from the questions tab, Callie?
I'm reading off of Robin's instructions.
Okay. So let's actually take some questions from the questions tab if you don't mind. Can we?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So let's start from the beginning. There's this first question, and you will get to see the first question right at the end. Avi IR asked, and this question has got 10 upvotes. He asks how to stand out. There are so many designers. I mean, how do you stand out?
Like I said earlier, find something that you like that no one else likes, whether it's music or a movie, or if you like nature, or if you have a favorite color. Find little things that are a part of your personality and use that to help your brand and make you stand out. Because there are so many brand designers, and a lot of them do try to have that same aesthetic. So be different. That is the most important thing to remember.
Right. Thank you so much, Avi. I hope that answers your question. Next up is a question by Mark, and this has got 6 upvotes. He says, how do you manage having a creative block? How do you overcome it? I think that's the problem with most creative people.
Creative blocks are not fun. and they are never easy to overcome. But to overcome them, what I personally do is I take time for myself. I go for a walk. I take time off of social media. I sometimes paint just to get away from technology, because sometimes our phones and our computers can be so overbearing and can put a mental block on our creativity. So those are the things that I personally do to overcome creative blocks.
Right, and I do some similar stuff, only that I get away from technology. And I think most people, the creative people, should actually take a break from technology, from their mobile phone and their tablets, and just do the most natural things that that are there. Like you said, going for a walk, maybe talking to new people, making friends, and that kind of puts you in better perspective. So thank you so much. Another question is by Katrina. She says, do you think IG is a useful tool to display your work and skills instead of posting on LinkedIn or designer platforms? I noticed that on IG you get more visibility only if you pay for advertising.
So since we are on the topics of new brand designers, I would recommend Instagram. So unless you have a portfolio, then go right into LinkedIn. But if you are a beginner and really don't know where to start, make an Instagram.
Right.
You don't necessarily have to pay for ads. That's another thing that I focus on is hashtags. If you find and use the right hashtags, you don't necessarily always need to pay for advertisements. But I personally do use Instagram rather than LinkedIn to post my content and get visibility, because I do get more visibility as well.
All right. So for beginners who do not have a very big portfolio with them, Instagram is a very good place to start. And then once you have developed a portfolio of designs, LinkedIn will be your place to kind of network with professionals, right, in the industry.
Yes.
All right. All right. So we'll take up one more question before we break for the mid-roll. This one is by I'm really sorry, I don't know how to pronounce this name, but this is by Mr. Ogunurade. He asks, how do you get creative with colors? Do I use colors only when they suit, or yeah.
How do you get creative with colors? I love making color palettes. So I love to create a color palette or a set of colors that can reflect a mood or a tone. That's what I would recommend. So neutral colors or bright colors or neons, I'm not sure what you mean when you say, do I only use colors when they suit? Sometimes some brands are black and white, sometimes brands are colors. So I hope I answered your question.
I think it also depends on the brand who has kind of, availed your services. It also depends a lot on the brief as to the kind of, maybe a logo, or maybe a pattern that they would want to experiment with as far as the logo and the branding is concerned. So dear, if that doesn't answer your question, I request you to put your question again with a different maybe a different set of words, so that we are clear. It gives better clarity to the question. So so let's quickly take one more question. This one is a really nice one. John Oliver is asking, with so many designers and works to gather inspiration from, how are you able to find and create your own style in order to separate yourself from the rest? I think it's a really good question for someone who's a beginner.
Oh, this is a great question. There are so many designers. And like I said, once I moved on from color palettes and started doing brand design, it can be difficult to establish individuality and your own personality. But that's when you have to look into your personality and figure out what makes you different from everybody else. And being different isn't bad. some people always want to be the same, and in some industries that's awesome, but in brand design, if you stand out, you're going to be successful. So get inspiration from the things that make you want to wake up every day and work your hardest and do your best.
Right, right. So we are halfway through the session, guys. Callie, thank you so much, and we'll quickly jump in the latter half of the session. So, guys, thank you so much for putting your questions as well. I had one more announcement to make that yes, you will get certificates for this event. I also saw someone asking in the chat section, and Robin kind of answered to that as well. So yes, there are certificates. So let's quickly take a mid roll. I hope you guys are enjoying the session, but I would like to give a quick shout out to Designhill for organizing this event. Let's take a quick short break and keep this interesting conversation going on.
Climax is a full-service video agency based around video production. We created a brand that fit our identity at the time, but as we've evolved as a company, we found that original brand didn't quite fit our aspirations anymore. Finding a partner to rebrand your entire company takes a lot of time and effort. Finding Designhill was an incredible lifeline. Designhill offers a money-back guarantee. If we don't like any of the designs, we get all of our money back. The stuff that we ended up with were well beyond what we had been seeing on other creative services platforms. After creating a simple design brief by answering some questions created by Designhill, we posted, and within a few days, we had over 250 entries. Designhill's platform made it easy to communicate with all the potential designers. Eventually, we picked a winner. In addition to a logo, our designer also created a letterhead, business cards, and banners for all of our social media platforms. With Designhill's help, we now have a brand that meets our aspirations. We're ready for the future and everything that it's here to bring.
All right, we are back again. Callie, over to you. Let's continue with the session.
Awesome. Are we going to do more questions, or should I finish up with my last?
We'll take up, right. So for now, the presentation, and then we'll take up more questions towards the end of the session.
Awesome. So our last topic, which I'm sure everyone has been curious about, is where and how to find your first clients. This can be difficult. For most people, it is never easy to find your first client. So what I did to build my first few testimonials, which are also called reviews, was help branding for friends with small businesses. And I even did a logo for a family member that has a beautiful blown glass earring business in Vermont in America. And these create not only great first testimonials for credibility for new designers and your future clients, but you learn a lot from how to make your client happy, as everyone is different and everyone communicates differently. And that's another important aspect to learn as well. And touching on the communication aspect between you and your client, every client is different. So it is important to recognize that changing aspects such as your tone and terminology is another aspect that is important if you want to successfully book a job. But simply ask. If you see a smaller business or a company that is new, or even in the area that you live in, walk in and ask them if they need help with branding for their company, whether it's a color palette or even a brochure. There will be people that say no, of course, which is why building those first few testimonials is so important, because it shows your possible client not only the proof of your work and success of your past projects, but the feedback from your past clients, which is extremely important to have as well. So for example, if you walk into a family-owned store that hasn't had any rebranding in over 30 years to modernize themselves, and you can tell that they need a specific service that is in your niche or that you're good at, offer it to them and sell yourself. It might be a smaller paying project, or it could end up be making you a lot of money. The point is that every bit of experience matters. for new designers. So take every opportunity you can get and get it done.
Okay, so we're done with the presentation, right?
Yes.
All right, let's put you on the focus and let's get started with the questions. So I have a few questions listed with me, which we got from our registrants, Callie. So I'm gonna ask you, about your journey. So, when you started off, it's been, I guess, not more than 2 years that you have started off. So in those 2 years, in last 2 years, what were the kind of challenges you have encountered along the way, and how did you overcome all of those?
I mean, I faced many challenges, from creative blocks like we've discussed to other designers not being kind or stealing one of my ideas. You have to stick to your intuition and you have to believe in yourself. It's an intimidating world. There are millions of people out there and there are millions of people that can do the same thing, but you need to find and discover what makes you different, and that is what is important. And a lot of people say that there's a certain aesthetic that appeals to everyone. That is not true. Everyone is different and everyone's senses are different. So don't be afraid to be different.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm sure a lot of people, a lot of our audience at Designhill community, they are newcomers themselves. And these are the kind of challenges that they face on a daily basis on a lot of uh, design platforms like Designhill, Behance, and Dribble. So I'm sure these insights will come handy to them. So guys, don't, like Callie said, that you don't you should not be scared to be different. In fact, you should use that to your benefit and carve out a niche for yourself. So the next question to you, Callie, would be, what are the main criterias or skills one should possess for becoming a strong brand designer? I mean, if they should have like a specified degree in design, and in case if someone wants to kind of break out into the designing world without having a degree, is that possible as well? So what do you think are the main criterias or skills?
I mean, of course you need, if you want to have a brand, you need to have a brand name, a logo, and a set of services. But before all of that, you need to establish a set of values and goals, whether they're long-term goals, like I previously mentioned, short-term goals. And you need to have a foundation for your brand and a meaning that stands behind it that people can recognize and relate to, which is why people attract, which is why you might see someone that says, I just got 20 clients. Their appealed to a certain type of audience, and you just need to find your audience, and then you will find success.
All right. So we already covered the mental block and the creative block aspect already in one of the questions by the attendees. So I'll quickly jump on to the next question, which is, could you please share some tips on working with collaborators as a freelancer or as a freelance graphic designer, such as project managers, when you have recently stepped into this world of design industry, and there are many people that you collaborate with to start with. So what are some of the tips that you can share with us?
Always collaborate. If you have, grab any opportunity you can get. So personally for me, I do marketing and I write blogs, which you can find on my website. Collaborate with somebody on a blog or a social media post or a holiday template. It could be almost anything. This not only gives you a sense of community and a chance to build a relationship with someone else in the design community, but it also gives that person's audience an introduction to you. So you are growing your own audience as well, which is super important.
Right. So yes, I think the importance of collaboration cannot be emphasized much enough because it's really one crucial aspect, especially when you're starting out. So thank you so much. Another question to you would be, so you have just started and you have maybe let's say worked with a few brands or as a freelancer. But how do you make that transition from working with smaller brands to finding bigger brands or clients? I mean, what is the middle process like?
You need to have experience, and you need to make sure that you understand all of the aspects of brand design. It's like I said, it's not an overnight process. It takes months to truly learn and even years to become a professional in the industry. So read, listen to podcasts, train your brain every day. And the more you learn and the more you practice and do smaller projects, these bigger companies will see your massive portfolio and they will be probably extremely excited to work with you just because you have that proof that you've done all these projects before. So that would be probably my biggest piece of advice on that one.
Great, great. So we have a lot of questions in the questions tab, and while Callie is taking a sip of water, let me read out one of the questions that is there. So Siddiqui Faizan has a very simple yet important question, and I'm sure this has a lot to do with your motivation as a designer. So he asks, what to do when my design is not being sold? Right? You have worked on a particular design and it is not being sold. So what do you do then?
Personally, I would take a poll. I would post on social media and I would be completely honest with my audience and say, what is wrong with this? Or I would reach out to a friend in my design community and ask their advice and say, maybe, what do you think is wrong with this piece? What should I change? What should I not change? There are some things that will sell immediately and you will be surprised at the random pieces that people will be attracted to. And other times you will work on something for hours and no one will buy it or like it and you won't end up selling it. So practice, make it again. Sometimes, a majority of the time, the first product is never the best product. So just keep trying and recreating until you find that final product.
Right, and keep on improvising as well. And like you said previously, that you can never undermine the importance of feedback. So in case if a client has given a negative feedback, you should always think of how I can put that feedback in perspective and maybe improvise for better. So yes, so with that, let's move ahead with the next question. Aswin asks, please suggest some good application for those who are using Android phones. If some cases we can't port our system, so our phones are more helpful in those times. So I'm sure he means to ask the any good application which the designers can start use on their Android phones.
Absolutely. Most Adobe products can be used mobily. Canva is another good one. Canva is great. I would recommend Canva over Adobe when it comes to mobile, just because the features work more accordingly. Those are the two that I absolutely love, and they're not only easy to navigate, but they help you learn. And and another thing about Canva is they do also offer free classes, and then I know Adobe does as well. So watch those free classes. Use those tools.
And while we are on that topic, I would also like to tell everyone that Designhill also has a very good design tool now, which is which is up and working, and it is no less than Canva and the other design tools that Callie is talking about. So please take out time, guys, and visit designhill.com/studio. It is an up and running tool that we have that is currently free for all the audiences. Be it a designer or a non-designer, you can go and make kick-ass designs there, be it presentation, business collaterals like brochures and everything else. So please go and check out that tool as well. It is really, really amazing. With that, let's get to the another question. What were the most Okay, John Oliver, we have already answered this question around the challenging moments of Callie as a designer. Another question will be by Luke Likesheet. How do you find or define values for your personal brand?
To define a value for your personal brand, you first need to find that value in yourself. So one thing that I did when I built Pink Moon Agency was I found 3 words that I wanted to represent my brand, which is polished, memorable, and accurate. PMA for Pink Moon Agency. And small things like that, they help you build your identity and they help you build your brand. And that helps also build authenticity and memorability for possible clients and other people in the design community.
Right, and I think it goes back to a lot of reflection that we were talking about right at the start, that you need to think of the kind of value proposition that your designing or your design services will be offering to a particular brand or a business. And I think that is something for the designer to understand, think, and reflect upon. And then you will get, eventually will zero down on a lot of values that you want to create, and how obviously how unique your service is going to be for your brand.
Exactly.
So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Callie. These are really nice answers. I mean, really great insights. So, Casey asks, would it be okay to approach clients to offer brand design to help their brand? And I'm sure, I think that you've already answered that you don't have to shy away from, barging into a company and then asking for work. So if you can please answer it again for us.
Don't be afraid. Sell yourself.
Right.
A huge part of being a brand designer is having that confidence to stand out and be different. And if there's a brand, if there's a company that you feel like your brand kind of could work with and it has the same aesthetic feel or they complement each other, don't be afraid to walk in there and show them your portfolio or show them something that you could do for them. And you could be surprised. You could get a yes. So do it. Yes.
Absolutely. So don't be afraid and sell yourself, basically.
Yeah.
Right. Raja asks how to explain the importance of branding. I think we have already picked that up, Raja. You can always watch the replay of the session to get your answers again. All right. Let me look for more questions. Most of these questions, guys, we have already covered, and Callie has already answered and covered in the presentation. Please, I urge you all to go watch the replay after the session gets over. The recording will be there on your email IDs. Also, Hari Priya, the name of the books are already being shared by Robin in the chat section. Please go and see there. There were a few recommendations that Callie had. What is Callie's username in IG? Okay, the Callie's username in IG, the handles are already there in the chat section, guys. All this information is there. I'm just making sure that I don't miss out on any of the questions. All right. Can we have a soft copy of the presentation? Yes, you can always watch it in the replay, John. Yes, please suggest. Okay. So moving to the top, let's. Abhishek is asking, how much experience should you have in brand design? Is there a threshold? I mean, it's a very basic question. If you can answer it for Abhishek.
I mean, it depends if you're trying to offer someone a service. If you're trying to offer a company a service, I wouldn't walk in there and say, let me build you a website, because you might have no idea what you're doing. But just start, make a logo or make a color palette. To be a brand designer, you have to learn how to make the basics. So play around with those tools, like I said, on Adobe and Canva, and just that from there that will build you up to other platforms on Adobe, such as Illustrator and Photoshop, the more complex tools that designers use. Yeah.
Right. So moving ahead, we'll be taking up 2 to 3 more questions, guys. If you have any, please put that in the questions tab. Heidi is asking, how do you rate the design, if it is good or bad? I think he or she wants to know that, once you're done designing something, how do you rate yourself? How do you, judge yourself if the design is good or no? So, what are those parameters of, kind of you're judging yourself, right?
Well, this one's complex for me personally, because I'm very nitpicky on everything when it comes to spacing, the font, the colors. I'm not sure if you're talking about your own design or someone else's design. But if you're talking about your own design, you'll know when it's right. You'll know there will be a certain look to it, and you'll be like, yes, this looks amazing. So, and take things into consideration, like your typography and spacing, because those are noticed by companies and other brand designers, and people are nitpicky about those aspects. So make sure to pay attention to aspects like that when no matter what you're making.
Right. So we have a very important question, actually. Ivan just asked the most important question of the session, according to me, which is, how do you price your work? How much we should be charging? I mean, that's always something very critical for every designer, especially the freelancers who are just starting out, because then people can take them for granted if the work is very cheap, if the price is very cheap. So how does one go about it while maintaining the value of the work that a designer has done, at the same time getting what they should be getting? I mean, not compromising on the pricing factor. So how do you price your work?
Absolutely. Never underprice yourself, overprice yourself. Like I said earlier, sell yourself. When it comes to freelancing or working for a company or studio, that completely depends on your personality and who you are as a person. Some people like to work for themselves. Some people like to get up every morning and go to work. That totally depends on you. But when it comes to your pricing, every project should be different. I'm excited to announce that Pink Moon Agency will be releasing a series of packages, and each package will be priced differently, as there will be different assets and services within each package. So that it really depends on the product itself, but never undermine yourself.
Absolutely. Don't shy away from pricing yourself a little high, on the higher side, because there's always a chance of negotiation, and the client will always negotiate. So the price should not drop any further. So it's always good to price a little on the higher side, right, Callie?
Exactly. Negotiation is key.
Right, absolutely. So okay, we have a lot of pricing questions all of a sudden. So yeah, Peter asks, how many options shall we design for a client? So, for example, a client has given us a brief. So, what is the good number of options, like 10 designs or 5 designs? What is a good number of options? Because the businessman actually sees from those design and decides if they want to hire our services or not, right? So, what is an apt number of designs that we will be giving as options to the client?
I would offer as many as you could make. if you keep having ideas flowing, make as many as you can, because then if they'll see 20 options to choose from, they're not only going to be happy that they clearly saw that you worked really hard and they have a lot of options to choose from, but you get that experience as well. So it really does depend on your creativity in that moment and with that project. But I would always suggest at least 5 to 10, never just one.
All right. Yes, yes, absolutely. So, okay. How to build confidence? Mr. Asti is asking how to build confidence when you're just starting a business, and how do you get rid of the fear of failure? I mean, I would say listen to Callie and follow her, but Callie may have a different answer. So please, Callie, if you can answer that. Although I know you have already covered it a lot of times in the presentation and in the whole session, but please keep telling us about this.
Yeah, absolutely. Believe in yourself. You know, everyone's different. Everyone is good at something. Everyone is bad at something, but find what you're good at and use that to your advantage. And during the summer, I went through a phase with Pink Moon Agency where I saw a decline in my metrics, in my audience, in my engagements, and everything. And I was like, maybe I should quit. And then I said, no, I'm not going to quit. And I realized, because I see all these other brand designers that have been doing it for 4 to 5 years or 5 to 10 years. And I'm like, I can never be that, you know? But then I realized that everyone is on a different path in life, and to never compare yourself to anyone else, because everyone is on their own journey and everyone learned from something and everyone started somewhere. So never think that you're not good enough or that you will never be able to learn, because there are so many learning tools and options for you to choose from, and just believe in yourself because you got this.
Absolutely. There's a lot of love pouring in for you, Callie, in the chat section as well in the questions tab. People are saying really nice things about you, Callie. So sweet. I just love Callie. So guys, you can always follow Callie. We are sharing her social handles in the chat section as well. And in case, I'm sure Callie would be happy to answer any of your questions that you might have related to this session, or if you want to pick up from her experience as a designer, you can always do that. Please get in touch with her on her social handles. Robin can share the handles again in the chat box. All right, we will take up last question. In fact, we have a lot of questions, in the but we are kind of running out of time. So the last question for today would be by Ivan. Do you recommend designers to work for a studio or work in an in-house designer at a company? I'm sure the answer to it is yes, but Callie, can you please answer that for us?
That was kind of similar to a question I answered earlier. It totally depends on your personality. If you are the type of person that you can motivate yourself to get up in the morning every day and structure your schedule, work for yourself. If you are not, then work in a studio with other people. Sometimes people are more inspired when they're around other people, and sometimes people are more inspired when they're by themselves. It totally depends.
Absolutely. So, Callie, this actually brings us to the end of the session. I just wish it could go on and on and on, and we can keep talking to you for more hours, but we are limited by time here. Thank you so much, guys, for being such a lovely audience. But, it was a value-packed session, and there is a lot more that we could have discussed, but we are limited by time here. I hope you guys loved the session. Once again, I would like to thank Callie for taking out the time to be a part of this event. Callie, any last thoughts? How did you like the event?
Thank you so much for having me. I know the slides were a little difficult to see throughout the presentation, so I will be putting them on my social media handles, Pink Moon Agency. So if you guys want to go and look at them, I apologize for that. I will do that today. And this was an awesome experience. And thank you guys for being so sweet in the chat.
Thank you so much once again. All right, guys, this is not where it ends actually. We have a lot more events lined up for you in the coming days. The next event is actually tomorrow only, which is a workshop on folk calligraphy and how to develop your lettering style. So, if you guys are interested and haven't registered yet, I'm putting the link of our event section in the chat. You can find all our upcoming events there, and you must register. To stay updated with events like these, you can follow us on our LinkedIn page. You can also give us suggestions on the topics you would like us to cover and the speakers you want us to host. I'm dropping the link of our LinkedIn page in the chat section again. To watch this session and other wonderful events, subscribe to our event section on Designhill/events, or you can also visit our official YouTube channel, which is Designhill. You can find the link of our YouTube channel in chat again. For all the business owners who are listening to this and wish to source high quality designs, guys, please make way to designhill.com. And like I said, we have recently launched a DIY creative tool called Designhill Studio. Be it a designer or a non designer, everyone can create beautiful designs such as business collaterals, presentations, social media posts, banners, and almost everything that you can think of. To check it out, you can visit designhill.com/studio. The link will be in the chat section again. On that note, I would like to say bye to everyone who joined us here today. Take care, guys, and stay safe.
Thank you, everybody. Goodbye, guys.
Bye. Goodbye.